Welcome everybody to tonight's special board meeting on September 6, 2022. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us this evening. As we get started here, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order and establish a quorum.
Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nachbar.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
I'd like to let our audience know that this session will be audio taped and streamed for later viewing and for those of you who are online. And before we get the meeting going tonight, I would just like to highlight a few things. Because tonight's special meeting is focused on only one topic, and that topic is a public hearing, I'd like to highlight two things for this evening. First, while we hear public comment on all agenda items at the beginning of regular meetings, so members of the public do not need to wait for specific items to come up, because of tonight's meeting and it only involves one agenda item, and that item is a public hearing, we are going to hear public comment during the public hearing as part of agenda item 2A. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing shortly, and we will start accepting public comment. Secondly, I'd like to make sure that everyone has a chance to hear the presentation from our consultants and provide comment. So we'll be asking the consultant to repeat their presentation at 6:30 this evening and provide an opportunity for public comment at that time for those who have not already spoken during the 5:30 public comment window. So with those 2 points, I'd like to go and get started with the meeting. May I please get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Thank you. And we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance to get things going. Oh,
Board President Sarah Hines.
yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nachbar.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
And now, Anne Marie, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. All right, as we move on to agenda item 2, this is the only action, discussion, and information item of this evening. So agenda item 2A, this is our public hearing to receive comments on the revised draft environmental impact report, otherwise known as the EIR, for the proposed stadium lights project at Carmel High School. I'd like to go ahead and officially open up this hearing. And with that, move along to hear the presentation by our staff and EMC consultants.
We have Terry Whistler here from EMC Consulting. She will be providing the presentation at this time and again at 6:30.
Thank you. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Good evening, President Hines and board members. Again, my name is Terry Whistler Adam, and I'm a senior principal with EMC Planning Group, an environmental consulting firm in Monterey. So tonight I'm going to provide a brief presentation on the history of the environmental review process for this project, the purpose for tonight's public hearing, and the next steps. So in March 2021, the school district hired EMC Planning Group to prepare an environmental impact report, commonly referred to as an EIR, in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, to evaluate the environmental impacts of the proposed Carmel High School Stadium Lights project. A draft EIR was prepared addressing the environmental impacts of the Stadium Lights project. That EIR was released for the required 45-day public review period on August 13th, 2021, a little more than a year ago. The school district received 46 comment letters and emails during the public review period, as well as 5 verbal comments at the public hearing on the draft EIR. And the public identified several concerns, including but not limited to the following: on-campus parking inadequacy, traffic safety, and emergency vehicle access, light pollution and dark sky certification for the proposed lighting, noise, and alternative projects, including the possibility of constructing a lighted stadium at the middle school. Upon review of those public comments, the district decided to respond to the public's concerns by expanding the project description and revising and recirculating the draft EIR for a second round of public review and comment, giving the public additional opportunities to comment on the environmental impacts of the project. So the revised draft EIR was completed and is available for another 45-day public review period, which started about 11 days ago on August 23rd. The revised draft EIR is available for the public to review at the following locations: electronically on the district's website main page at carmelunified.org, and hard copies are available to review at the Carmel Library and at the district offices here at 4380 Carmel Valley Road. Specifically, the revised and recirculated draft EIR addresses the issues raised by the public in 2 ways. First, expanding the project description, and second, conducting additional environmental analysis. So the project description was expanded to include 2 new parking areas on campus with 111 new parking spaces. Also, a new internal roadway connecting on-campus parking, upgrading the existing pool lights, and replacement of an existing pedestrian pathway with a new pedestrian pathway. And finally, a new stadium storage building with a spectator viewing platform was also added to the project description. So in general, the following additional environmental analysis was performed. We did additional parking analysis with respect to on-campus and neighborhood parking. Additional visual simulations, both during the day and at night, for the proposed stadium lights and the new parking lot lights. The analysis of new project alternatives, and additional clarifications to address the various concerns from the public. So the purpose of tonight's public hearing is to allow the public to provide verbal comments on the revised draft EIR. Written comments are encouraged and will be accepted until Monday, October 10th at 5 p.m. Written comments must be directed to Dan Paul, the district's Chief Operations Officer, via email at feedback@carmelunified.org, or by regular mail at the district offices here at 4380 Carmel Valley Road, 93923. So at the end of the public review period, which is 45 days, we'll prepare a final EIR. The final EIR will respond to all of the public comments that were received on the revised draft EIR no later than Monday, October 10th at 5 o'clock. Comments received after that time, although they're included as a part of the public record, they won't be addressed in the final EIR. And once the final EIR is completed, the board will be asked to consider certifying that final EIR as adequately prepared pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. And that certification is required prior to the board making a decision on the project. So this concludes my overview of the environmental review process. Tonight we won't be answering questions on the draft EIR. We need to research and consider them thoroughly and provide those responses in writing in the final EIR. But I am happy to answer any questions from board members regarding the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. So before we hear from the Board of Education, I'd like to go ahead and now hear comments from the public. So before we do that, I'd like to remind everybody that the Carmel Unified School District Board of Education is committed to maintaining a respectful and productive environment that fosters a culture of civility where our staff, our community, and the board feel free to express themselves, and we're free from any harassment. The board welcomes your comments and requests that you please express yourself accordingly. This evening, everybody who wishes to address the board, you will be allotted 3 minutes on this particular agenda item only. Should more than 20 people wish to address this one topic, the board may elect to allot 2 minutes per speaking on that item or topic. So with that said, we will go ahead and start the clock for the first public comment for 3 minutes, and we'll start with number 90. Oh, sorry, 91.
My name is Belle James. I live on Morse Drive, right across from the existing tennis courts. You sent out a postcard, and I blew it up and made a copy for everybody so you can see what was on that postcard. It has points. It says event parking signs, no parking for events. There is no indication, or have there been any posted, at my intersection. If that's the parking lot and it's full, guess where you're going to park? On the street, right there. And it's narrow. I would like, if we can change and put a sign at my intersection, it would be really nice. I don't think people are really going to walk a quarter of a mile to the football field. I'm the closest person to the football field, and there's no signs there. That's my issue. The other thing is, if lights are going to give the school better vibes, I've lived in this area for many years. I have friends that their kids went to PG High and competition with Carmel High. If lights make for a better football team and more school pizzazz, we have just won our 4th shoe. So I want you to know that Carmel High is doing fine without lights. We don't need them. Santa Clara had the 49ers, I believe it was their football team, moved. They had a stadium built, and they had these same kind of issues, and when they got their permits to do it, everything had to be closed down by 10 o'clock. I think this is something that we should include in this. There should be consequences. If they park where these signs are that says no parking, their car should be towed. We shouldn't rely on the sheriff to do this. I think we should get a contract with a towing company. The car is parked under a no parking sign, off it goes. If there's consequences, I think we can enforce these things. If there's no consequences, oh, there's a ticket. I'll throw it in the back seat of my car. Dad'll pay it, or I'll pay it, or the company will pay it, you know. So consequences, I think, are really important. So event parking, I had a list here. I'm sorry. And it was interesting, I just heard her say that they have included a pedestrian walkway because we really need we have a nice pedestrian walkway right now along the side. It's lit, so if we're going to have this lower parking lot, we need a pedestrian's way of getting there. The other thing is, on this, it very clearly points out where you can enter the parking lot, where you can exit. But there's nothing indicating any of those features around the parking lot where the tennis court is. So if you're going to send out a postcard and tell the neighborhood what you're doing, please be accurate. It isn't accurate. Anyway, that's my problems.
Thank you for your comments.
Anyway, go Carmel.
Number 92, please.
Good evening. I've had a lot of conversations about this project online, etc., and I've had a lot of thought about it. I happen to be a 43-year lighting nerd, if you will, because that's all I do and that's all I've done, so I'm kind of like that. And I live right here on Carmel Valley Road. More than that, I'm a 43-year member of the what is known as the Illuminating Engineering Society, which is the 100-year-old lighting education of science and art of illumination. I work strictly on commercial lighting. It's not very different than residential. So because of that and because of my background and having conversations, and also in the past I've been a consultant to neighborhoods where they've had schools, colleges actually, put up lighting after the fact. So you're lucky you have time. So I have two suggestions. However, I only had one suggestion before I walked into this room, and that was contact the Illuminating Engineering Society in San Francisco because they're brilliant minds up there. I can give you contact people. I've been asking them. But when I walked in this room tonight, I realized something. I believe I was told the reason that the company Musco, who I know, was chosen to do the set of plans and do the original design, 70, 80-foot poles, big LED floodlights. What color, Kelvin temperature, I'm not sure. Hopefully it's 27 Kelvin, the Carmel color. But I realized something. The reason that they wanted to go with Musco was this room. I've never been in the room before, but when I got the connection and I saw, wow, these are induction fixtures, 100,000-hour induction fixtures. However, lighting is from the ground, maybe 7 feet. Of course, for here, we want to see everything. But if you'll see even distribution on the floor, where that would be the playing field of the kids, the players. So my second idea was there's an option to build a truss. Why not go up 40 feet from the ground up using steel bars, iron bars, and then you would be able to hang down lights in compliance with dark sky and create an even distribution. Musco is doing what they do. They lit up MetLife Stadium. So when you do big things, that's what you do, big things, and you offer big things. I think there are options that you have. I would look forward to put this out for another couple of ideas. Thank you, and I left a page for you all with that. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. And for the record, your information will be printed out and given to each and every board member. Thank you. Number 93, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fran. My comments are probably on one of the most irresponsible, cumbersome 400-page report that apparently you have now spent $500,000 for. I will point out that is money being wasted and money being taken away from students. The headline from the Carmel Pine Cone was actually correct last week. It's not just stadium lights anymore. I have never seen so many unrelated new scopes of work being added to a project. This alone should really trigger a total stop. The community should really be demanding a public rescoping session. It is so unorganized for such a significant financial investment. So here are my free solutions on what you need to focus on. Solution number 1, safety, safety, safety. Where is your emergency access routes? Not one mention in the entire report. Page nowhere. I can't tell you how many times we have asked for this on a consistent basis. So I guess since you haven't provided it, I'm assuming you'll be taking personal responsibility if an injury occurs. Solution number 2, save the tennis courts. Why are you ripping them out? Fix them, save the money. Help the poor traveling tennis students. If you look at their numbers, they're the ones that are traveling the most from an energy perspective. Solution number 3, save Scenic Highway number 1. Yes, bad, bad, bad. You are constructing an 18-foot road. I'm so glad you called that accurately because that's what it is. It's a road that's on page 99, and you're killing the protected trees, which we see very clearly on page 199. Very iconic to this neighborhood and this community. Solution number 4, you've admitted the significant and unavoidable light pollution from Point Lobos to Carmel by the Sea. That's page number 127. Now, expand the 3.5-mile radius that you were showing. Don't hide that you know the light pollution will actually reach all the way out to the St. Lucia Preserve. You've limited the scope. So, solution number 5, why are you restricting the assessment study in the environmental sections? Where is Carmel by the Sea, Point Lobos, Carmel Valley, Jack's Peak, and Palo Corona? You act like you live 1 block from a neighborhood. You're surrounded by an entire community. Solution number 6, fix the light pollution on the pools now. Ted, shame on you. You broke that promise. You stood up in front of us publicly in a December meeting and you told us you were going to fix it. Not good. Low trust value. Solution number 7, why are you holding Late Start hostage? Stop the stadium lights, give the money to the buses. That seems to be the root crux of why you're not doing Late Start. Solution number 8, we have talked about being a rural district with the most minorities living on the outskirts. Give them a break. Don't do Friday night lights.
Thank you for those comments. Number 94, please.
Don't start till I get up here. Okay. Hey, look, I was raised to understand that integrity is how you behave when nobody's looking. And nobody should try to hide things from view for fear of criticism. If you're doing the right things for the right reasons, you ought to be able to stand up and defend them. Information should also be free, and transparency is still, sunshine, the best disinfectant. So, any concern about cost for California Public Records Act requests for information, that falls on deaf ears here. I think it's pretty clever to release the revised draft EIR on a Friday night before a 3-day weekend. 394 unnumbered pages with all the organization of a neatly shuffled deck of cards. No kidding. I mean, try going through that and connecting the dots. So we, your neighbors, in this small community, starting a year ago, we compelled you to revise the shoddy draft EIR. You did that. But shame on you for expanding the scope of this project so much to include new construction of buildings, a roadway, destruction of tennis courts, probably trees. In any judgment, that constitutes a significant change in scope. I think it's going to drive you back to reinitiation of the project and everything that ensues. But further, on a personal basis, for you 5 especially, it's unconscionable to me that you would witness this much upset from nearby. We're all nearby. And you would be able to listen to that and disregard it. You've got 22 acres up there, and you've got 60 down here. You've already purchased 60 acres down here. You could build it out. You could do so much down here. Is it more money? Yeah. Do I pay taxes so that you can do that for our children and their future? Yes, happily so. No problem. Use what you've got. Don't encroach further on a community. Good luck.
Thank you. Number 95.
Hello, my name is Charles Wally. I live in Carmel Views, and I want to talk about the lights. Just briefly, my family's been in that neighborhood, in that house for 50 years. Our kids went through your schools. I've volunteered in the schools and led field trips to the Untitled and all that stuff, so I feel connected to this. Professionally, I've been a marine ecologist with NOAA for 30 years. Most of that time, almost all of it really, was focused on conservation of important places in the ocean and on land, like the Marine Sanctuary here, the Elkhorn Slough Reserve up near Moss Landing. And all of that involved, in one way or another, dealing with environmental impact reports and studies, and designing them, reviewing them, writing them, approving them, sometimes tearing them to shreds. And so I think I've got a particular insight into what we're dealing with here and why it's important. And I want to pull out one example, which is the assessment of the visual impacts on the light pollution. That particular part of the whole project has been problematic from the beginning. It was a source of a lot of concerns. In many ways, I think it was why we're here today talking about another version. And there are some things about how that was assessed and how you all approached it that I think they're worrisome, and I think they're maybe meaningful. So the assessment, in my view, is flawed. It's biased. It leads to a single outcome on what I think are faulty data, or lack thereof. So there are a couple of examples of how we got there. The first is your exemption of the district from all the relevant jurisdictional zoning rules, however you want to do that. And sure, you can do it, but that's not a good way to start the conversation. The second is this ridiculously small sphere of influence that you've described for the impacts of the lights. It's crazy. The lights go way beyond that, as do the people who care about it. The third, and I think maybe most worrisome, is this explicit exclusion of private residents from the assessment of light impacts, so that you're only willing to look at people standing on public access roads. And all that leads up to a feeling that you've basically defined away the problem, and you've defined away the people that care about the problem. And I think that's not, it's not good, and it's not going to help you in your jobs that we voted you into when you decide whether this is a good idea or not. I think you have now an even more tilted database from which to make your decision, and I hope that you can find a way out of that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 96, please.
When I get to that part. So I'm Larry Arthur. I live in Carmel Views. I'm a long-term resident here. This ever-expanding stadium improvement plan is just quite simply wrong. Actions to date are on track to negatively affect our community forever and change the nature and soul of Carmel. Don't do this. Each of you are responsible for the inflated, confusing, conflicting, and wholly inadequate redo of the DEIR. We've spent $400,000, and this is where we're at. Instead of correcting and perfecting the original, you've added a lot of pork. Past project sins, broken promises, contrived solutions for a built-out campus. CHS is the heart of our community. Yet your plan ignores addressing and preserving the character of Carmel and the values we all hold dear. As trustees, you must embrace this. Your plan pivots away from an 80-year tradition of Saturday family-friendly football and shifts to Friday nights, which removes the family picnic atmosphere. It will bring a host of other problems, not the least of which is noise. The same noise that's been tolerated Saturday afternoons is wholly unacceptable during traditionally quiet and peaceful dinner and evening hours. Relevant noise studies must include actual measurements and increases to us sensitive receptors. Also, our residential land uses. That's a fancy term for our homes. Section 10.1 does not. Key is the shift of noise from daytime to traditionally quiet evening and supper times, and no measurement or facts are presented. Carmel is not Visalia. I'll leave the detail to our noise experts who will provide comprehensive studies including how noise negatively impacts players, spectators, neighbors, near and far, and not simply measured from accessible public places or wishfully extrapolated from other studies. Our experts will analyze, critique, and impeach your contrived study. Would you want this noise to disrupt your evening meal? 129 decibel air horn blast, foot stomping on aluminum bleachers which sound like a freight train, public address system blaring, officials 117 decibel thunder whistles, and the delightful cheering of our fans. At the recent shoe game, in the final quarter, yelling, foot stomping, and air horns were so loud, many clear out of the stands. In summary, the RDIR is woefully incomplete. Noise generated from evening sports events cannot be fully contained or deflected away from us sensitive receptors. And what the project needs is a full stop. Relinquish the current plan. Reevaluate fiscal and educational priorities. Re-engage with your constituency. This would be the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 97, please.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I live at the corner of Flanders and Whitman. I'm trying really hard not to get upset. One of the things that I was thinking about was a song by Joni Mitchell called "You Pave Paradise and Put Up a Parking Lot," and that's what you're going to do. The tennis courts are as much a sport as your football or your soccer or anything else. Not to mention that the tennis courts are used very much by the neighbors. Taking them out and putting in parking is disgusting. Also, in that EIR, they talk about how many parking spaces there are on Flanders and Morse. Give me a break. You start letting people park on our streets, you're not going to be able to get emergency vehicles through there, and somebody's going to get hurt. We have many, many residents who walk their dogs, children who bike around there. It's impossible to think that people would start parking on a very narrow street like ours. And as far as the environmental impact, it sickens me to think about the fact that we could have such, that I haven't seen anything to mitigate the environmental impact that it's going to put on our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 98, please.
I'm going to read what I wrote to make it all hang together a bit better. As you're well aware, there is no one present that doesn't love our kids and their high school. However, the planned lighting of the football field is a huge mistake. A large component of folks from our community clearly want other solutions explored. Given the amount of money that the board's current approach has cost with so many errors and misdirections, clearly indicates the need for a new approach. Notably, the Save Carmel group, which you've been listening to off and on for some time, is prepared to fund an independent effort with legal and notable consultants that expertly look at the issue and alternate solutions. I'm here to advise you that such funding exists and legal assistance is already on board, and the list of appropriate expert consultants is nearing completion. This will give us the ability to come at you legally unless you begin to move in a different direction. We understand that football at all levels is a notable passion for many Americans. Looking at numerous communities, the passion for football from high school to college to professional levels is a very significant component of American culture. But that passion does not override rights and responsibilities toward everyone. Driving down the value of someone's residence with your current approach is tragic, along with devaluing the community in general. Just think about having the highlight Friday night lights that are being proposed and how it changes not just the immediate area, but the city of Monterey and up and down the coastline. A new era begins to happen, and one that none of us would like to see happen. Please stop forcing your single approach to nighttime football. Investigate several options, from using the Valley property to enhancing the daytime program with night games at other schools that have long-time programs. We need to shift gears and move in a different direction, or the assets that we have to begin a major battle will come into play, and I would hope you think that is to be avoided. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Number 99, please.
Hello, board. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be heard. I hope you're listening. I doubt you are. I just want to say and use my time for applauding and appreciating the people that we've heard so far and the people that are going on after me. I don't have the kind of mind that they have. I don't have the kind of focus and ability and attention to dig into that document. I'm busy starting a new business, and that's just where my focus has been. But I can tell you, I am so impressed with the people that you are listening to. I don't know them that well. I've sat in some meetings with them. I've donated a little this and a little that to try to be helpful where I can. My wife, Laura, who will speak, has also been tangentially involved. But these people are caring people. They are smart people. They are looking at what you're doing. And I can just say that from what I see and from what I hear, you really should be ashamed of yourselves. I mean, how do you not listen to these incredibly brilliant, capable, caring people who have lived in this community longer than most of you have? How do you not listen to them? How do you not pay attention to what they're saying? How do you not respond to their really clever and thoughtful and well-reasoned feedback? How do you just sit there and then go do whatever the heck, blank you want to do, and then look at us as though you are really looking at us when you're actually looking right past us and totally ignoring us? And I just want to go back to saying thank you. I want to thank the people who have spoken. I want to thank the people who will speak. I want to give acknowledgement to everybody's opinion, everybody's perspective, and I want to say, if so many people have so passionate and so thoughtful about giving you good advice and warning you, I mean, the man just stood here and said you're about to engage in a major legal battle. And I've been in some of those conversations, and it's not bluster. I mean, you don't know what's about to come and hit you as a board, as individual board members. You don't know what's about to happen, or you wouldn't be sitting there with those blank looks on your face. You would be actually engaging. You'd actually be looking at the EIR that you produced before, and you wouldn't turn it into such a piece of garbage that we now have to deal with. And the work that these smart and fine and thoughtful people have had to do over this Labor Day weekend in order to be here tonight to give you these comments.
Thank you for your comments. Number 100, please. Number 100.
Hi. I'm just wondering if you folks have been napping through the news. Haven't read a newspaper or the internet in the last 10 years? We are in a climate crisis. Our world is heating up. California is burning. Do you not understand what that means? I'll tell you what that means. In a monumental lack of consciousness, this school board and Superintendent Knight want to stick God knows how many giant billboards of stadium lights all around the high school football field. 80 feet tall, as wide as shipping containers, and anywhere from 60,000 to 150,000 lumens. That's hundreds of little suns searing through our nighttime skies, obliterating the constellations, the shooting stars, even views of our amazing Milky Way. Hundreds of little suns adding ridiculous amounts of extra heat to an already overheated Earth and sticking us taxpayers with the energy bill. Conservative estimates say that 3 hours of stadium light usage would power about 7 typical US homes for a week. And let's not forget the cost of that electricity, both in dollars and wasted natural resources like coal, and the pollution that creates. Millions of tons of carbon dioxide are emitted to power this type of lighting, which results in immense damage to the environment and, yes, increases the effects of global warming. We're seeing it with our own eyes, as the recent heat wave demonstrates. Then there's the light pollution itself, which has been proven harmful to most living creatures and to the environment as a whole. Humans are run by circadian rhythms. Excessive artificial light at night disrupts these rhythms and causes sleep disorders, depression, and weakening of the immune system. Oh, that's what we need, more sleep disorders, depression, and compromised immune systems, as if too much screen time wasn't already a thing. Artificial light also negatively affects animals in many ways. Migratory birds get disoriented, baby turtles are drawn from the ocean, populations of insects decline, the owls starve, and so much more. We do not need more invasive nighttime lighting. What we need is to protect our fragile environment, the dark sky at night, the stunning natural beauty of trees and mountains and ocean by day. These things are priceless, and if destroyed by those stadium lights, which they will be, they'll never return. Not in our lifetime, not in our children's. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 1, please.
I'm Jane Goldcamp. I live in Carmel Views and have lived here for decades. Can you hear me? Okay. This is going to be fast. It's kind of long. My first word is woe. Where did this 394-page document come from? RDEIR, it is not. It is a new document, huge, complicated, grandiose. Why and where were all these improvements added? Was this your plan all along? Or did you just put all this extra stuff in, expand it all, so that you would have some points to mitigate? This is personal for me. I am in love with this area and the night sky. I feel that the entire board has been secretive to the point of deception. I have found myself being kept up at night over this light issue. The board has not been listening to the community regarding the stadium lights. There are obvious numerous other important issues as well, safety, traffic, noise, but the night sky, and I'm not saying dark sky because you'll think that can be mitigated, we the night sky decreases every year. We used to see stars every clear night. Now there's light intrusion. The Milky Way is elusive. With increased infrastructure, there comes increased lighting. Put in a parking lot, put in connecting roads, and you'll put in even more lights for security purposes, and then you'll leave them on all night long. I wonder, I look at Carmel High School, the back of it. What are they doing over there? Why haven't they gone to bed? Why haven't they left the premises? No, you leave your lights on. Back in 1975, I sat in the concrete bleachers for a friend's graduation with my hand over my heart, singing the Star-Spangled Banner and seeing the exquisite beauty of the Santa Lucia Range. Tears of joy streamed down my cheeks. I couldn't help but think what privilege it must have been to attend this high school and to every day be able to appreciate the surrounding beauty of this unique place. Nearly 30 years later, at my son's graduating ceremony, the feeling was the same, unmistakable joy of place and environment. Carmel is unique. Please protect the night environment, the night hunters, the night critters. There is nothing to mitigate here. There is no compromise. Do the right thing. Abort the light plan. This matters. Spend your $5 million on student enrichment, art, music, dance, buses, not on stadium lights. I thought the CUSD board inherited a situation that had gotten out of hand and was being pushed by the old guard. But now I realize you have increased the infrastructure by a large percentage. This may be fine in other locales that don't share borders with scenic highways and nature preserves. This land needs protection from you. Stop overbuilding, stop overpaving, stop overlighting, stop overspending and ruining it for decades. Use the natural resources, daylight, preserve the beauty for everyone. You are influencers. Use that influence to put the environment first. This is not putting students second. This is educating all of us to be good stewards. Do this now and for the next generation. Protect what doesn't have a voice. Protect what nurtures our soul. It is not too late to say no. Vote no on stadium lights, and you will be heroes.
Thank you for your comments. So as I mentioned before we started the meeting, because we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to not only hear the presentation delivered by Terry Whistler, and provide comment. So we are going to take a recess for about 10 minutes, and we will begin the presentation again, and we will continue public comment. So may I please receive a motion to take a recess?
I move to take a recess.
Second. Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes, yes.
So thank you, everybody. We will reconvene in exactly 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are going to go ahead and start to get organized to get restarted. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 6:32. So I would like to go ahead and reestablish our special meeting. And I would like to go ahead and welcome back to the podium Terry Whistler. And we'll go ahead and we'll hear the presentation, and we will pick right back up at public comment where we left it. So thank you all for sticking around. If there are any new people that are joining us this evening, if you could please grab a numbered ticket. That is how we're engaging in public comment. And if I could please remind everybody that we are giving everybody a 3-minute timer. So if we could try and stick as close to the 3 minutes, that would be great. And with that, we'll go ahead and pass it off to you. Thank you.
Again, good evening, President Hines and board members. Again, my name is Terry Whistler Adam. I'm a senior principal with EMC Planning Group, an environmental consulting firm in Monterey. I'm going to provide a brief presentation on the history of the environmental review process for this project, the purpose of tonight's meeting, and next steps. So in March 2021, the school district hired EMC Planning Group to prepare an environmental impact report, commonly referred to as an EIR, in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, to evaluate the environmental impacts of the Carmel High School Stadium Lights project. A draft EIR was prepared addressing the environmental impacts of the Stadium Lights project. The draft EIR was released for the required 45-day public review period on August 13th, 2021, a little more than a year ago. The school district received 46 comment letters and emails during that public review period, as well as 5 verbal comments at a public hearing on the draft EIR. The public identified several concerns, including, but not limited to, on-campus parking inadequacy, traffic safety, and emergency vehicle access, light pollution and dark sky certification for the proposed lighting, noise, and alternative projects, including constructing a lighted stadium at the middle school. Upon review of the public comments, the district decided to respond to the public's concerns by expanding the project description and revising and recirculating the draft EIR for a second round of public review and comment, giving the public additional opportunities to comment on the environmental impacts of the project. The revised draft EIR was completed and is available for another 45-day public review period, which started 11 days ago on August 23rd. The revised draft EIR is available for public review at the following locations: electronically at the district website main page at carmelunified.org, and hard copies are available to review at the Carmel Library and the district offices located here at 4380 Carmel Valley Road. Specifically, the revised and recirculated draft EIR addresses the issues raised by the public in two ways. The first was expanding the project description, and the second, conducting additional environmental analysis. So the project description was expanded to include 2 new parking areas on campus with 111 new parking spaces, a new internal roadway connecting the on-campus parking, upgrading the existing pool lights, and replacement of an existing pedestrian pathway with a new pedestrian pathway. Additionally, a new stadium storage building with a spectator viewing platform was added to the project description. So in general, the following additional environmental analysis was performed. Additional parking analysis with respect to on-campus and neighborhood parking, additional visual simulations for the proposed stadium lights and new parking lots, and those additional visual simulations included both daytime and nighttime locations, analysis of new project alternatives, and clarifications to address concerns from the public. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to allow the public to provide verbal comments on the revised draft EIR. Written comments are encouraged and will be accepted until Monday, October 10th at 5 p.m. Written comments must be directed to Dan Paul, the district's Chief Operations Officer, via email at feedback@carmelunified.org or by regular mail at the district offices at 4380 Carmel Valley Road, Carmel 93923. At the end of the 45-day public review period, a final EIR will be prepared, and that final EIR will respond to all of the public comments on environmental issues that are received no later than Monday, October 10th at 5 p.m. Comments received after that time, although a part of the public record, will not be addressed in the final EIR. Once the final EIR has been completed, the board will be asked to consider certifying the EIR as adequately prepared pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act prior to making a decision on the project. So that concludes my overview of the environmental review process. Tonight we won't be answering questions on the draft EIR itself, as that requires thoughtful analysis and research. But I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have on the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. So right now we'll move back into the public comment period for the public hearing. Again, if you're new to us this evening and joining us about 10 minutes ago, if you could please grab a number from the red ticket dispenser. That's how I'll be moving through the public comment. So right now we'll resume public comment for those who have not already spoken. So I'd like to make note that if you've already engaged in public comment, we're not doing a repeat of those of you who have already spoken. So this is people who we haven't gotten to yet and the folks that are just joining us. So we'll go ahead and resume with number 2, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Will. So this project keeps getting bigger. Multiple parking lots, access roads, a new 2,400 square foot building. Wow. Seems like a never-ending expansion of the project. $500,000 sunk into the EIR so far, and these changes only make the project bigger, but not necessarily better for Carmel. Well, okay, these expensive extras will be better for football games, right? But how will they be better for Carmel? Are they making it better for the millions of people who visit Carmel? Is everyone coming to Carmel for high school football? Of course not. People come to Carmel for the amazing beauty and unique natural place that it is. I know that's why I'm here, and I'm sure that's why many of you guys are here as well. For example, when you're driving down Highway 1 towards the school, down that hill, and you can't help but be struck by the amazing beauty of the landscape as it opens up to you coming into Carmel. For me, I'm struck by it literally every time I drive it. Think about it. Carmel really is as beautiful and as wondrous as any place in the U.S. and possibly the world. What we'll now have instead are practice lights every night of the week to see instead. Oh well, easy come, easy go. But putting these lights on Scenic Highway 1 will be great for school spirit, you say. Oh, and the new parking lots would be great for school spirit too, unless you play tennis. Oh well, easy come, easy go. And there still won't be enough parking anyways. So let's just recap. We're creating a bunch of traffic and dangerous conditions on Highway 1 at night, ripping out tennis courts, making a parking nightmare for residents just to have Friday night football games. Is this the Carmel you want? Is this the best for Carmel? Well, wait a minute. It's not just about Friday night games, you say. We need it for practice because of the late start, you say. Have you heard of the Sunshine Protection Act? Currently moving through Congress, this bill, which passed the Senate and now in the House, restores all the time you'll lose from late start, giving us back a full hour. So, this project here is now a solution without a problem. Actually, this project is not just in search of a problem, it creates a whole host of new problems that will forever change Carmel for the worse. And let's be honest, these lights, the new building and parking lots are going to be here forever, and they are just the next thing. Just like the pool lights, now we will have stadium lights, and next, who knows? Probably big multi-level buildings and multi-level parking structures on Highway 1. So please, I ask you again, is this the legacy you want to leave for future generations? Shouldn't Carmel be valued and protected like any other amazing space that we protect and treasure? Or would you just like it to become like any other city? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 3, please.
Hello, my name's Susan Miller, and I live at the mouth of the valley. I believe that the people who prepared the EIR seem to be conscientious, bright people, and so I'm assuming the EIR was prepared according to the instructions and the input of the board and the school officials. And the EIR includes linkage for 2 entirely separate functions. One is dark lights for the pool, dark sky lights. The other is late start. Any number of people have offered the school district examples of how the school district could have a 7-period day and still do late start and still have afternoon practices, and those examples have been ignored. The pool lights have been promised as a remediation that would happen now, and nothing seems to be happening. The EIR indicates that they will not be changed until everything changes. The credibility of the board is on the line, and one of the things that would help the credibility of the board is to put in the dark sky pool lights now. Another is to start late start beginning with spring semester. That would give all of us a little more confidence that you are listening to the neighbors that live miles in all directions and are concerned about the current EIR. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 4, please.
I'm Alan Miller. I live in Carmel Views. While the football team is practicing under the lights, where are the other student athletes, especially the women's teams, supposed to practice? In particular, where are the tennis players supposed to practice after you remove the tennis courts at the high school? If the answer is that they will practice at the middle school, why not move all the practices to the middle school and provide enough lighting there for all the athletes? The real issue here is where student athletes are going to practice, not where they'll compete. If the stadium lights were only used for a few Friday night competitions, significantly fewer people would object. It's the proposal to turn them on every night for practice that has generated opposition in the community. That's why we need to find a place where all the teams can practice with adequate lighting. The high school is not that place. The revised environmental impact report says that putting stadium lights at the middle school will generate more environmental impacts than putting the lights at the high school. That assessment is not credible. There are far more parcels of land and far more homes within a quarter mile of the high school than the middle school. That will still be true when new housing is built near the middle school. The people in those homes are the ones most affected by the lights and by noise generated during practices and competitions. The report does not even attempt to assess the number of people who will be affected. The middle school routinely hosts events like soccer tournaments and dog shows with more participants and spectators than a high school football game. It does so without running out of parking space or disrupting traffic on Carmel Valley Road. It has more than enough space to accommodate night football games, and with adequate lighting, it can provide a place for other high school teams to practice and compete. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 5, please. Number 5. Number 6. Seven. 8. We have an 8.
There we go. Good evening. My name is Jonathan Lyons, and it is my distinct pleasure and great joy to serve as the principal of Carmel High School. I'm here to offer a different perspective. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the students and staff of CHS on our position in the ongoing debate over whether to place lights on our stadium. A lot has been made about this issue and the potential disruption it may have on the community surrounding the school. I want to help dispel some myths and misconceptions about this and shed light, pardon the pun, on our motivations for wanting this enhancement to our facility. It has been framed that this is a conversation about Friday night lights, and I'm not going to shy away from that opportunity. If you were in attendance at the recent shoe game, you saw what I saw, a community coming out in full force to support our students. Isn't that what we want? Don't we want a place where alumni can return and cheer on the current generation of our student athletes as they carry on our traditions? Imagine if more parents and students could attend and support their sons, daughters, and friends because they weren't working on the weekend or didn't have time and resources to commute one more time from Kashawa or Big Sur. Recently, I was asked about my vision for the school. I've spoken for 3 years now about the need to create a home for our students, a home that is safe, supportive of our kids, and that is a beacon for the community as a whole to be proud of. Safety means not having to cut practice short in December or January due to the lack of a playable field as the fog rolls in or darkness falls. Safety means a pathway for all community members, current students and residents alike, to walk along Highway 1. No one wants safer parking access for students than me. As a parent of a student who's just learning to drive, I want my son to have a parking area that he can easily access as he learns the nuances of driving. Safety means creating opportunities for students to gather together and cheer on their friends. I see an opportunity to provide a place people can come and be a part of something special. I see a CHS that has a safe, lighted track in the evenings during soccer or lacrosse practice where community members can run and maintain their own health. During the pandemic, our school became one of the few areas that families could come to be outside and get exercise. Just last week, a woman ran what looked to be about 3 miles during football practice. Wouldn't it be beneficial to our larger community to provide that opportunity to those who work until 5 p.m.? During the recent shoe game, CHS made great strides to mitigate traffic around the school for what is surely to be the largest event on campus this year, save graduation. For the first time in recent memory, there was a clear and noticeable reduction in the cars parked on the frontage road, and for the entirety of the event, we had safe, accessible emergency access to the neighborhood and the school. We've heard a lot said over the past year, some positive, some not. We've been listening and watching as some of our community attack us for our mere existence as if the school just popped up last month. I make no secret in my role as the defender of students at CHS. I wish our community could see what I see every day. I wish they could experience the joy of our students at work and play. Spend one day in my shoes, and the questions about how we can improve their experience will melt away. Spend one day through my eyes, and you will see why these students deserve the absolute best possible experience, both academically and socially. Members of the board, I appreciate your role in this process. You must listen to all sides of an argument and make an informed decision. Dr. Knight, you must bring your expertise and knowledge to this debate. I have no bipartisan role. I am here as an advocate for my students and my school. CHS is not an adversary of the neighborhood or the community. I speak for our students and staff when I say that we wear the name Carmel on our chest proudly. We are constantly seeking out ways to engage and partner to be a good representative of our town. Next week, CHS will march down Ocean Ave for our homecoming parade sponsored by many local businesses and the Chamber of Commerce. We will celebrate as part of this town and do our best to represent it with pride and honor. We are asking this board to give us the needed improvements to our school in the form of this proposal so we may have a safe space for our kids to grow and thrive. We are asking you to do what's best for these students, current and future of Carmel. It's what's best for our home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Number 9, please.
Hi, my name's Noelle Mills, and I've been living in this community for 61 years. I grew up going to Carmel High School. My property, both properties are adjacent to Carmel High School. I have watched the parking on Flanders Drive I've called the sheriff many times, and the kids go up through my driveway and hop the fence and go into Carmel High School. Now this year, nobody has been parking on our Flanders Drive, and the reason being, I'm sure, is because they want to build this stadium and they want to make good with our neighborhood. Now, the shoe game, nobody parked there. They had signs. They are not going to be doing this for when they are having the 44 games with the lighting situation. I see from my place the school lights on in the pool, and they have been on constantly all night. I hate to think what the lights from the stadium would do, and all the surrounding lights, and the noise. It would totally destroy my house, my neighborhood, that I have lived in for 62 years, or 61 years. I want to close with, I think that you guys could do something in the middle school, have the alternative place in the middle school. You have plenty of parking. You could put up the lights. It wouldn't impact Highway 1. You wouldn't be paving over things. You wouldn't be expanding your whole lighting thing. And the kids could practice down here. You know, it wouldn't affect the neighborhood. You guys are totally, it's duplicitous what you're doing. And I'm totally against it. And I just want to rephrase what another person was saying up here from the Joni Mitchell song. It's pave paradise, put up a parking lot, and you don't know what is lost until it's gone. And that's what you're doing for these stadium lights.
Thank you for your comments. Number 10, please.
Hi, I'm a long-term resident of Carmel Views, and I can help Larry Arthur with his quest as to how the sound would be affected in our area. Last evening, it was warm, and we sat out in our patio and listened to two hummingbirds communicating, little clicky sounds. That's what the sound level is like in Carmel Views most evenings. I look back many moons ago, I taught 3rd grade in Carmel Mission, and about a dozen years later, I was sitting out in my deck, and I heard Pomp and Circumstance, and it was the graduation, and it was the graduation of what had been my 3rd graders. And I listened to their names, one after one. That's how clearly the sound comes from the football field up right through. I'm about 2.5 miles up. It's not something that we're being nitpicky about. Most of us have sacrificed for years to be able to live in a community like this. And we have had to, when we're doing our building, adhere to all kinds of rules, especially one time I was not allowed to put a skylight in, just in case somebody living above me in the hill might see the light. So you can imagine how offended I was when I first saw the pool lights. They're just an abomination. I don't know how they ever got through. I just wonder why the high school doesn't follow the same rules that we have to abide by. And I wonder if, when the school was first built, if they had said they were putting in pool lights and putting in stadium lights, would it have been allowed then? And I'm darn sure it would not have. I appreciate the principal and what he's adhering to, but we've given several solutions here, especially the middle school idea. So I hope that we can live our lives as everybody has tried to make this area very, very special. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 11, please.
Hello. Living in Carmel Views for 24 years, I've seen the east side of Carmel High School at dusk hundreds of times, and have to say that the existing nighttime photo in the revised EIR is a bit misleading. Comparing an accurate typical nighttime photo today with the simulation of the tower lights in the revised EIR would show that we will suffer a significant increase in brightness from what we normally see, and it will occur for 147 nights of the year. With an output of about 5 million lumens, the field lights will have a significant negative impact on the aesthetics of Carmel Views, without even counting the new pool lights, which will be on for 84 nights of the year. Did you know that the Musco luminaires are actually powered by blue LEDs? blue. The LEDs are coated with a phosphor that downshifts some of the blue light to other colors of the rainbow, which gives the overall light a cold white look. But about 40% of the emission is blue, according to industry sources. 40% of 5 million lumens multiplies out to more than 2 million lumens of just blue light coming from the field lights. Yet, we don't know much about the long-term health effects of blue lights at nighttime, especially at these high levels of illumination. Studies of the human circadian system show that blue light can suppress melatonin, and that can cause sleep deprivation and other health issues. Preliminary results from some research indicate that the effect depends on the intensity and the duration of the lights at nighttime. So my question to you is, do you plan to address this and other potential human health effects from these very bright lights that are 40% blue? Which brings me back to the intensity of the powerful LEDs used in all the Musco lights. Do you really need them all on at full brightness for all games and practices, providing 50-foot candles of illumination? Other high schools are planning to use 40-foot candles, and some lighting authorities say that 30-foot candles remains the standard for high school stadiums. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 12, please.
Good evening. My name is Marjorie Longo, and I live in Carmel Views. I'm going to take a slightly different approach. Because Friday night football seems to be the driving force behind the lights, we might ask what is happening to high school football in the United States, and specifically in California. It's declining for at least the last 7 years. Erecting 4 towers, each nearly double the height of the tallest building in the community, or an average height of an 8-story building, with 44 intensely bright lights, lit over 147 nights a year, visible and offensive to much of the community, as well as visitors, will not change the fact that Pop Warner and high school football are on the decline. Spending millions of dollars on lights and a sound system will not change that fact, nor will it change the unmitigatable, significant negative aesthetics of the lights and towers on the community. That's per the new EIR. They will forever be unsightly in the community that treasures its beauty. Viewshed analysis photo 5-2 shows the vast area of the community that will be significantly impacted. And the impact will go far beyond what that shows, and that is shocking in itself. There's a uniqueness to the experience of living and going to school in the Carmel area. Saturday afternoon games with that view are well known, with attending scrambling to get the view seats. Nowhere else in the world has a high school stadium with that view. Perhaps more tax dollars could be spent encouraging the students to embrace the uniqueness of their location, appreciate the beauty, and learn ways to help preserve what Mother Nature has gifted them, even if it's a bit inconvenient. Superintendent Knight said in the Pinecone interview that the only ones to suffer from no stadium lights are the kids. I question the use of the word suffer. Some of the students may be inconvenienced, but suffer? Not by my definition. The world is suffering from pollution. Light pollution is no small part of that. Rather than adding to the problem and more specifically cause a major local light pollution problem, perhaps the students in the community would be better served if more time and money was spent teaching about the degradation of the environment caused by all pollution, including light pollution. Now the district has an opportunity to step up and be part of a solution. Tall towers, bright lights, and enhanced sound systems are not in keeping with the culture nor the natural beauty of the community. I ask the school board to step up, do the right thing for students of the future, the community, and the environment. Surely there is a better way to spend millions of dollars.
Thank you so much. Number 13, please. Number 14. 15.
Hello, I'm Joanne Holbrook. Thank you for allowing us to have this time and space. Thank you all who have spoken so far, and even one who's for this event or this proposal, because it's good to hear a lot of sides. But this proposal has an ability to change the quality of life, environment, and culture for all of Carmel and the Monterey Peninsula. It's a bit for the better for these students, for the and the parents who need to drive to the game. But it is a disaster for the community of Carmel and the Monterey Peninsula because of these light pollutions. That seems to be the worst. That's the one thing that can't be changed. But by changing and expanding Carmel high school space really seems a bizarre one to me, when this site, middle school, was made to be the high school. Spend the millions of dollars to create this, the gem that the students can really rally around. Keep the view of the base football field. I was born and raised here. I went to the football games to watch look at the amazing view. And then the idea of the night light. The dark sky lights will not work if it's foggy or if there's moisture in the air. It will just be a big bubble. And so that is a huge one. And Pave Paradise put up a parking lot. I am so sorry that I have not been so aware about the people on the east side and seeing all these other light pollution things. They've already lost Paradise. Now the Paradise is going to be lost for everyone, thousands and thousands of people. It's just so sad. And I think that is what I needed to say. Oh, there were 1,000 people at the shoe game. Put those here at nighttime? Please, that is not a good idea. Not a good idea to me and to so many other people. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Number 16.
Hi, I'm Tierney Teese. I live in Rancho Rio Vista for 20 years and have kids in the district. And I just want to say kudos to the board for your service. I know that many of you get a stipend and you put it towards scholarships, so this is pretty much a volunteer activity that you're doing. And I feel for you when people attack your character and your integrity without knowing you and without acknowledging the amount of time that you're dedicating as public servants to our district. I know also as a scientist the impacts of not getting enough sleep and the whole reason why we're trying to get these lights in there so that the kids can have, it's not just football, it's all the sports that can have a little bit more time. And if the Sunshine Protection Act does go through, then the lights won't be on as long. What I don't appreciate is in my neighborhood, I have flyers being put into my mailbox with misinformation. I've gone to many of these meetings and I know that you won't hire out the stadium to outsiders. It's not gonna happen. And yet I get a little flyer in my box telling me that the stadiums are gonna be hired out to outsiders and that I should be aware of this and I should vote against this. So I would just please hope that people stick to the facts. I know you guys have done the hard work of reading the EIR, which is a response to the first one, and that's why the traffic mitigation measures have been put in there. And I appreciate all the time and effort that you're putting in to actually work together as a community for the sake of our kids. That high school was here before probably any of you guys had your house. The high school's been here for a long, long time, and it's going to be here for a long, long time. And we owe it to our kids. That's our legacy. Our legacy is our kids having athleticism, having a safe place to be, having a home like John Lyons beautifully talked about. And I think I really appreciate all the things being brought up, the blue lights, the impacts, and I think we can work together as intelligent people to find a solution that you know is best for our kids, and we can work together. So I just want to commend all you guys for the time you're putting in, because I know it's volunteer, and you've actually read that long report. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Number 17.
Hello. My name is Noelle Ballerini, and once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm coming late in the game to this. I've been away for a while, and now we're back, and we're really happy to come back. Of course, this was not good news about this project, I thought, so I wanted to address it. Our family moved away from a more urban area 12 years ago to live in this beautiful place, and we moved away from a place where a business blasted lights in their parking lot and ran announcements on an outdoor speaker, and it disturbed us on a daily basis in our home. We felt very fortunate to find a house in Carmel Hills where we have mountain views and beautiful starry skies, and finally we felt that we found a place that respected nature and cherished it. At night, when Highway 1 is finally calm, you hear owls and animals and nature, and this is so important. It will be irreversibly damaged. My son goes to Carmel High, and we play family tennis games on the courts. It's a lovely community. It's not about not appreciating the community and getting excited about kids and athletics and everything, but we were home during the football game the recent Saturday afternoon, and we could hear the whole game as if we were there. We heard the noise from the crowd and the peaks and valleys of the crowd. It fell high and low points. It was like we heard every single play, and it was a very emotional thing to not even be attending it, and I was so glad when it was finally over. And the idea that this would start happening regularly at night and not just for football practices and games and whatever else, it's just inconsiderate to the people around you. My husband and I work really hard every day to be able to afford to live here. And when we are off work, finally, we want to relax in our home. And your plans will affect so many people and ruin the peace in their homes. It might benefit the members who are pushing for these improvements to have a hookup of a mega TV screen blasting football, or even better, a loud event that they're not particularly passionate about, directed at their own homes every evening, but of course someone else would be holding the remote. If you had a neighbor who was throwing a raging party every weekend, you would grow angrier and angrier as they continue to disrespect the others around them. And this situation isn't very different. Please stop your ever-growing agenda and forcing the neighbors to pay the real price. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 18, please.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. This is the fourth time in the last year, or however long this has been going. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. This is the fourth time I've stood before you as a group on the board. asking about story poles and having them erected. I've talked to some of you individually about it. Story poles are used in new construction nowadays all the time. And I'm not sure why I never get a response. I get people saying they'll call me back, they'll do this, they'll do that. I never hear about story poles. That would answer a lot of questions. Put different size bulbs, et cetera, in there. Second comment I have is the phrase demolition of the tennis courts. That is an oxymoron that is criminal. It just grates on down my back. Lastly, noise. There's been a lot of conversation about it. It carries for miles. There's yelling. There's cheering. There are bands. And at 10 o'clock at night, there will be car horns. On and on and on. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 19, please. Number 20.
Thank you very much indeed, Board. My name is Brendan Cook. I'm a parent of 4 children at the Carmel Unified School District. I come to this country as a person who lives in the UK, so I'm not going to ask detailed questions about the rationale behind things like the football. But my daughters, 2 of my daughters, play field hockey, and I don't think there's been enough covered tonight about the benefits that they will get. Most fields in the UK have lights for field hockey. Field hockey is one of the fastest growing sports around the world for women. And I think we haven't had enough conversation about the benefits for them particularly. I get your points around the football, but it's the field hockey, and particularly for women's sport, and it's one of the fastest growing women's sport. Lights is very important for 2 elements. 1, we've talked about the general changes. 2, though, the safety of the sport for training purposes. So I'm not going to dwell long about this, but I would ask you to think about it, not just please in the context of football, right? Please think about it in the context of other sports and the benefits. Children have been through a huge amount over the last few years. Sport and the mental activity and the benefits that that provides, I think, incalculable advantage. The school is offering the opportunity. I take many of your points, and I would fully appreciate them if I was next door to your school, right, as has been put here. But I would ask you, please, can we come forward with sensible proposals and a sensible way forward so we can benefit the whole community? I'm only going to be here for 2 or 3 years, but I would really like to see some advantage coming through to the school and to the residents from this. So I ask both the board and the residents, please, as Americans and Democrats, please can you come forward with a sensible proposal and advance this? My daughter and my other daughter are desperate to have this facility. Please, please, can you come forward with viable proposals? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 21, please.
Good evening. My name is Maria, and I am part of the community Carmel Views. I have nothing prepared. I heard the very passionate speech from the principal and the wonderful community here. And I have to say, I walk every night, Carmel Views. That's where I prepare myself for my trekkings. I hardly turn on my flashlight because I love looking at the evening sky. I cannot imagine that going away, not even for 15 minutes. It's just, I'm not saying it's going to go away, but it's going to affect that. The principal was very passionate about his students, and that's wonderful. But we also have a community here that have homes. So this is we all have to agree on this. It's not only the students. You did say that you have the students coming from Cachagua. They don't live in Carmel. A lot of the students don't live here. Some of them do. So they're not really impacted by those lights. So how can people take a position so strong when they don't live here, or they're not affected by the lights? That's not, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry, I get very passionate. But I think it's what's the word? It's not, it's inconsiderate for someone to come over here and say, this is what needs to be done, and they're not even part of this community, I think is wrong. I don't think we should do this. I think it's wrong. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 22.
Hi. I honestly wasn't planning on saying anything tonight, so I don't have any scripted remarks, but your principal inspired me to come up here. I think he made a couple of interesting points that I just wanted to address. We've lived in a community for 20 years, okay, but I have no association with Carmel High School, okay? I haven't had kids go there, and I can tell you nobody on my street has any association with Carmel High School, okay? I mean, you know, I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. I get football, okay? But, you know, it's a small part of what Carmel is, okay? Carmel is so much bigger, okay? We need to think about the bigger community here because you are impacting a much bigger community, okay? I think that it's also more than the illumination of the lights. I don't see the lights directly from my house, okay? But when I walk, I can see the poles currently above the pools, okay? And I can imagine if the posts are even bigger for the football field, I'll easily be able to see those as well, okay? That's just an eyesore, okay? Why are these posts there, okay? Final thing I want to do is I have been looking through the draft EIR, okay? And I was going to save my comments for written comments. But I would say that one of the things I noticed is there wasn't any kind of, it's more of an energy analysis. There wasn't really any kind of energy analysis done in terms of the electricity being used. And I assume that's because it said that the electricity comes from a renewable energy co-op or something like that. I would like to know what the solvency of that co-op is, because if they go under, you're going to be getting your electricity from PG&E, and now the carbon footprint of that electrical consumption, in my estimation, is that's about 1/3 of a megawatt per day. So every time you turn off 1/3 of a megawatt hour per every time you turn that on, okay? So how big of a carbon footprint is that going to be? And I can tell you this, you know, it's going to be something. I mean, how many, you know, in the draft EIR, they talk about how it's going to be about 17 tons, metric tons of carbon a year just due to the mobile traffic, you know, people driving around, irrespective of the lights, okay? How many metric tons of carbon is acceptable? I mean, when we have 110 degrees in Southern California and we're limiting our electrical use, okay, it's a zero-sum game, okay? How many metric tons of carbon is acceptable? I would think none, you know? It's just going to get worse. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Number 23.
Good evening. My name is Nina. Oops, yes. Is that better? Yes. Okay. My name is Nina, and my husband and I are relatively new residents to Carmel. And we came here because we were seeking paradise. I know that's a theme you've been hearing already this evening, but we regarded it as a paradise, not only for the wildlife, but also for people. We didn't know too much about Carmel High School per se, but we have children. They're adults now, but they did go to high school, and high school was important to them, and it was important to us. So we understand there needs to be a balance between the needs of the children and the needs of the community around them and the needs of the animals around them. So my big issue is the light. It is well documented that the light pollution is very bad for human health as well as for the reproductive nature of various animals, in particular the frogs. The red-legged frog is already endangered. And it is right here in the river, in the Carmel River, and in the pond at Palo Corona Park. These should be protective areas. There are preserves all around us. This is one of the beautiful things about Carmel. The character of Carmel has been preserved throughout the years to the point where people don't even have mailboxes in the city of Carmel, because they want to maintain that character and the beauty and the nature of the surrounding area. There are viable alternatives to these lights as described, from what I understand from reading various sources, though admittedly I'm new to this issue. But I'm not sure that I understand why this particular route is so critical as opposed to some of these other viable alternatives. And I know that I have heard, and I respect the fact that people can blow things out of proportion, and I also have received these postcards in the mail saying that, oh, they're going to sell the use of the stadium to others for other events. Well, there's nothing, it seems to be very vague as to the limitations on use, the timing of the use, how late can it go, how many days per month, how many days per year will those lights be on? Will they be shut off after a game? Will they just continue all throughout the day even for massive costs, as others have mentioned? So that's my big issue, and the viable alternative of moving it here doesn't work for us either, because it's right next to the Carmel River and all the preserves that are intended to maintain a healthy ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 24. All right, I think that concludes our public portion of this hearing, the public comment piece of this hearing. I'd like to thank everybody who has hung in there with us this evening and who has taken the time to address the Board of Education, Dr. Knight, and the rest of the team that has worked on this draft EIR. So thank you again, all of you, for your comments. And at this point, I will go ahead and turn it over for any board comments. But before I do that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Knight to explain to the Board of Education how board comments actually work within the CEQA guidelines. This isn't like other public hearings that we've conducted in past meetings. This one's a little bit different. So before we head into that, I'll pass it over to Dr. Knight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, just a reminder that as our community had an opportunity tonight to give feedback that will be taken into consideration when we bring forth the final EIR, the same goes for board tonight. So if you do have questions, you of course can send them to our feedback@carmelunified.org website. You can either email them to me, Jessica, or Dan, and those will get added to the record, and those will again be used as talking points in our final EIR. So if there are comments tonight or questions tonight, they would simply just become part of the record. Staff will not be answering those, just as we did not answer community questions tonight. It's all part of the process.
Great, thank you, Ted. I just have one comment on behalf of the Board of Education. I would like to thank Dr. Knight, our consultants, and everybody else who was involved in the creation of this draft EIR. Thank you, Dan Paul, Jessica Hull. I know it was not a minor effort to put together a lot of the mitigation strategies and pull together a lot of the feedback from the first EIR that was presented. So on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank everybody who worked on this version. Are there any other comments from the board?
I actually have a list of questions that I will submit for public record, and yeah, I've got 22 right here, so I'll wait.
Yeah, I just I have questions as well that I submitted to you, and so I'm looking forward to hearing the responses. I did want to just say that I do appreciate the comments that we heard tonight. I think this is a really critical part of this process, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to come here. I think it's really important to hear what you're saying And contrary to some of the comments, we are listening. We do take this position very seriously. And I ask that you don't question our integrity. I don't think that's fair. You don't know me, you don't know the board members up here. We do this because we are passionate about what we're doing. I lose sleep at night because I understand how critical these decisions I'm making and how they're going to impact others. I spent my Labor Day reading the 400-page report and generating the questions that were necessary to do the right thing for this job. This is a job. I work full-time, and this is my second job. So please don't question our intention, don't question our integrity, don't question our commitment to this position, and don't question whether we're listening to you, because we are. We take this very seriously. So thank you again for coming and providing us your feedback.
I'll make a short comment. Yeah, I too took a little offense to whether we're listening or not. I do have 3 pages of comments from everybody. And, you know, this is a hard one for me as former principal at Carmel High School and a former graduate of Carmel High School, and actually a pretty close neighbor to the project itself. So it's hard. I want you to know that. It weighs on me. And I think the most important thing I can tell you is pretty much what Seabury is saying, and that is we really heard you, and thank you.
All right, thank you for those comments, Seabury and Carl. Appreciate that. And with that, I will go ahead and officially close this public hearing. And we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time.
I don't have